I'm Tyson,
I'm Emma.
I'm Kim.
and we are TEK Talk. Welcome to episode 3 of the second season. Grab your passports because today we are going to.
The Baroque and Rococo era. Right. Where are we going?
Today we have a lot to unpack, but we're gonna start with our shared piece. What are we thinking, Kim?
Let's talk about the swing. So Tyson, can you tell us what that is?
Yes. The swing is an oil on canvas painting that stands 32 inches by 25 inches by Jean Horay Fragnard in 1767. The swing is one of the most iconic paintings of the Rococo era, and the painting was commissioned by Baron de Saint Julien, who wanted a painting of his mistress being pushed off a swing by a old bishop with himself at the bottom looking up her skirt, which is kind of weird. And the scene is filled with a lush. It's like a lush garden with a bunch of like flowers, and the young woman, so the mistress, she's seated on the swing with like a big poofy pink dress, playfully kicking one of her shoes while being pushed, yeah, by the bishop. So Emma, why do you think this piece is so important?
I feel like the swing is important because it kind of like perfectly captures like the essence of the Rococo era. It's very playful, it's romantic, and it's filled with like lush and decorative detail, and it reflects like the carefree attitude of the French aristocracy before the revolution, with its like flirtatious subject matter and like soft pastel colors. It's kind of like the hidden lover, the flying shoe, and like the garden. I think that it just has like a deeper symbolic meaning, and it's like not only just like a masterpiece because of its beauty. I mean, it's a very beautiful painting, but like what it kind of reveals about like the culture and like values and like all of the contradictions of this time.
Dang, do I
Tyson,
not go?
Tyson, how did you feel?
When we were first introduced to this painting, I felt like I seen it before, and then I realized, wait, that's the painting from Frozen. Remember when Anna was like jumping in the halls, and she jumped up and she like matched the painting? So so that's why I felt so familiar. But besides that, when I like the lightness of the piece because it's so playful. Unlike other artwork we've seen, like other artworks, you don't see this type of like playfulness, and it felt very like natural and very cool. Emma, what did you think?
I also agree with that. I think that like it's just like it's very different from the other eras I feel like that we've seen with the art, and like from what I remember from when we were going over it, it was like there's so many interpretations and like there's so many like different like symbols throughout the entire thing, like about the seduction, the lust, and like everything that was going on. And I just think that it's like a really interesting piece because we haven't seen or hadn't seen something like that before, especially because like what you were saying about like it didn't feel like as intense as everything else. Like it was just very like lighthearted. Kim, how did you feel?
So I thought the swing was a very cute painting because of the light colors that
Bernard?
the guy used in the Rococo era. And I love the attention to detail on the dress. I thought it was like you can tell it was very flowy, very fluffy. And I also like the background too. It was nice green colors, so very naturey. And but one thing though, my views changed on it because once Mr. Reynolds gave us the backstory of like the guy looking up her dress, I thought it was very creepy, very odd. And yeah, it just
Yeah, we
weirded
did
me.
not see that. That was not in Frozen.
Yeah, that was not in Frozen. But although besides that, it was a very great painting, and yeah. Okay, guys. So we're having some. I don't know if you can hear me, but we're having some technical difficulties. So we will film our individual pieces at home. Yes.
So catch us at our house.
So my piece is Judith slaying Holofernes 1614. So Judith slaying Holofernes 1614 by Artemisia Gentileschi stands approximately 78.3 inches by 64 inches. This is a powerful Baroque painting that portrays the biblical heroine Judith beheading the Assyrian general Holofernes. The scene is intense and violent with Judith and her maid working together in a theatrical setting. Gentileschi uses strong chiaroscuro and a slant to show realism and emotional impact. I think that this piece is important to art history because Judith slaying Holofernes is like a rare and powerful female perspective in a time where artists were like mostly men. And it also stands out for its like emotional realism and its bold use of light and shadow and depiction of violence. The painting challenged traditional portrayals of women by showing Judith as strong and determined rather than, passive. And it is also seen as a symbol of female empowerment, often linked to Gentileschi's experience with SA and her pursuit of justice. The work is said to be a landmark of Baroque art and a lasting statement on strength, resilience, and the power of storytelling through painting. And when I was first presented this piece, after we were shown Caravaggio's Judith slaying Holofernes, it was a drastic contrast because you could tell like the differences between the two by the painter's perspective. You could see like how in Caravaggio's you could tell that Judith was seen as kind of weak, and also the maid was old for some reason. But when you look at Gentileschi's, you can see that Judith is she's really resilient, and she looks like she's determined to do this action rather than in Caravaggio's, and when she looks like just confused. And I kind of really enjoyed seeing like both sides of the story, because I'm pretty sure the story was the backstory of the painting was also really interesting, and so to see like two different depictions about that painting was really cool.
Hey guys, I look really rough right now because I'm sick. Yeah, I'm sick. It's terrible, but I'm recovering. So welcome to my room. Today I'm doing part of my episode in here. So I will be doing Las Meninas. I think I said that right, not sure. It's a famous painting by Diego Velázquez from 1656. It shows a young Spanish princess getting like dressed up by her maids, and you can also see it's like in a big room too, and you can also see Velázquez himself in the painting. So he's like basically looking at a mirror painting himself. And there's a mirror that reflects like the king and queen, adding to the mystery of who really is being painted. So it's you can really look at this painting in many different ways depending on your perspective. It's very like known for its clever use of light and space, and like I said, perspective. So the importance is it really challenges how we see art. It definitely plays with perspective again, like I said, and like it makes the viewer feel like they're part of the painting themselves, which is nice to feel. So Velázquez like included himself in the painting, which like kind of represents like how he wants to show the people that he's important too. He plays an important role in like the royalty and stuff like that. It's also a great example of like light, space, and realism usage, and it's like the painting has been influenced by many artists, and it continues to be like studied based on its complexity and mystery of the painting. And okay, my personal reflection, I really thought it was interesting with how Velázquez decided to represent the princess getting like pampered by the maids. It really shows the royalty behind this painting. In addition to that, like it was very unique how he had all the other paintings in the background of the painting as well, which is really cool. So yeah, that's my piece. Sorry if I didn't explain that well because I'm sick. We're gonna move on to Emma's piece. See you guys when I'm recovered from the sickness. Bye.
Poof! Welcome back to another video. I'm joking. It's just Tech Talk from Home edition. Okay, like I was saying, this is Tech Talk from Home. So today is our episode 3, and this is our individuals, but from home. So my art piece is The Calling of St. Matthew, and this piece was made around 1597 to 1601, and it measures, I think it's like 11 by 11 feet, and the painting was created by Caravaggio, and it exemplifies like his use of naturalism, and it depicts Jesus, and like it depicts Jesus calling on to Matthew to come with him, and it almost shows like it's a beautiful one, but this like directly represents chiaroscuro because of the extreme dark and like light shadows. I feel like as a Christian, I feel like this is just overall a very important piece, but from an outside perspective too, I believe that it would be an important piece just because it's a prime example of Baroque art. And Caravaggio used his like realistic abilities to bring like the biblical story to life, and almost like it feels kind of like relatable, like in a human way. Like the composition creates kind of like a sense of drama, and it pulls viewers into like a spiritual conflict, and like it kind of shows like, am I gonna go or am I not gonna go? And his use of like everyday people, like he would use people like that would just walk the streets. Like it wasn't some hierarchy or some people like or gods or goddesses. It was just people from an everyday setting, and I feel like that was kind of revolutionary at this time because it was like not many people did that, and it almost like made like sacred stories more accessible to people. And like personally, I feel like what stands out most to me is how like human and relatable the scene feels, because it's like instead of like distant idealized figures, Caravaggio brings us people that are real, flawed. They almost seem like surprised and unsure, and I think that's a really beautiful thing that we don't see in a lot of like paintings within this time. And it kind of reminds me of like the moments of like change or calling and how it can happen in the middle of nowhere in your ordinary life. And his use of light kind of just like draws our eyes in places that like I feel like we again didn't see that in many other types of art. And this like just kind of made me feel like it felt like an unexpected and very beautiful painting, and I really liked it. And yeah, so that's all that I have for my video from home, but we are the lemons. I'm the short white girl. Alright, all love.
Las Meninas.
Okay.
Okay, so my piece is the last. How do you say it? Meninas. Meninas.
Yeah, just go.
It was created during the Spanish Flu. Or Philip the
All love.